I met Deirdre as soon as, she got out of high school. And
My exclusive interview with Don and Deirdre Imus at the Imus Ranch for Kids with Cancer in New Mexico.
So you don't have the reputation of being Mr. Sweet and cuddly, but you invested an enormous amount of time, energy. You built this place. You live here the entire summer with the kids. That's a little bit different than maybe the Don Imus that people hear on the radio or the people have come to know over the years, or the people that are listening to you banter with your wife here.
well, I mean, I'm still not, Mother Teresa or Pope Joan, or that she is, but and I get on the kids, and I don't get on them quite as much as I used to, but
Yeah.
they don't want to be coddled. They want to be treated like regular kids. I mean, here's something that's a stunning statistic. We have kids here. They have a rodeo competition they have to compete in. They have to ride a horse through an obstacle course. They have to jump off the horse, rope a steer. They have to then tie a steer. Mm-hmm. So, and here's what we've noticed. That because we take kids here who are cancer siblings, and we take siblings of kids who have lost a brother or sister to sudden infant death syndrome. Mm-hmm. Not one of those groups of these kids who they have no physical ailment has ever been able to beat a kid with cancer. Mm-hmm. Ever. Yeah. Ever. In terms of time.
All right, here's the question I have. Is there a split personality at Don Imus? Now, maybe I'll ask her this question, because you know his reputation.
What reputation? What is this?
No.
Why you're going to have me on Hannity and then make me feel bad because as I battle my cancer here?
No.
And I also have emphysema.
Healing your cancer?
And I'm older than dirt.
This is the whole Don Imus.
But
Wait
a minute. But here's a guy that a lot of people know is, pretty acerbic, controversial, hard-hitting, and then he builds this, 4,500 acre paradise for kids, invites them in. You're the surrogate father.
Yeah, but I would have never done that myself.
We
did it together. So.
But is there a different side of Don Imus that maybe other people know, and this is it here? This is a Don Imus that people don't know.
Definitely, now they will know who don't know this, but this.
You hate this. You don't want to
know. No, because I'll tell you what it is. So I wouldn't have done it myself. I would have never. I mean, I may have gotten the idea, but I would have never done it. I wouldn't know how to do it. But when and I'm not patronizing her, believe me, because if I could get her in a wood chipper, I would. But
he has the pamphlets.
That's not true. No, I know. I'm not. You want to see she's on her best behavior.
You laugh, but
let me tell you what happened. This is. I swear to God.
That's why I have my knife here. He couldn't get me in the wood chipper. I mean, yeah, right. Try it, honey. Try it.
But if she had not met me, she'd probably be out in Hollywood having sex with people trying to get in movies. So,
oh, jeez.
Which is what I told her I would do if she was when I met her. But anyway,
I've lost all control.
So to answer
of this
your question,
I've lost. This is a first, by the way. I am usually in total control.
No, we're just answering your questions.
And I appreciate that. All right, let me ask you a hard question, because you become their surrogate parents for the time that they're here. These kids build their self-esteem. They learn they do their chores. I saw you have them making their beds every day. Mm-hmm. They get up at 5:30. They learn how to ride horses. A lot of these kids never met a horse before. No. They've never been around horses. So then you have a rodeo at the end of this, and one kid will emerge the winner of this rodeo contest. It's not like back in New York where everybody wins and the score is equal, which is the right way to do things. But then these kids leave. And some of them, are not going to make it. And a lot of kids that have come through this ranch have gone home and they have not made it. How hard is that for you?
It's fun.
It's hard. It's hard. You get close to these kids. You really.
Well, the thing that's the worst. I mean, it's horrible the kids who die, but it's worse the kids who, when we find out what horrible home environments they have. The divorce rate of kids with cancer is around 80%. Same with kids who are brothers and sisters with sudden infant death syndrome. And we had a kid here, and a couple of go-arounds ago was horrible. I mean, the kid was just impossible. And you can only be so tough on a kid. And, I mean, he was a big kid. He's just refusing to do whatever, you know. And he wanted to go home. And so Deirdre was talking to him, and we were out in the kitchen. So I just put my hand up on his head like you would pet somebody, you know. And it was, the kid looked at me like, I mean, nobody had ever done that to him. He's a big kid. He's taller than I am. And, you know, nobody had ever, and then I just kind of was just petting his arm. I mean, pet's not the right word, but, and the kid, then he told us how his father beats him. Well, you know, you want to go to somebody's house like that and pistol whip them, you know. So, but the kid did a complete turnaround, and then of course wanted to stay here. And then, so as hard as it is to go to these kids' funerals, which we do, it's a lot harder. No, it's not a lot harder, but it's almost equally hard to send them back to these homes that we know they're going to. You know, after they've been here, and you know, I mean. We would be better parents for them. You know, I mean, they know that, and so they try to get us to adopt them. And so, I mean, not all of them, but I mean, so that's tough. So it's tough to talk about.
And we'll have more with Don and Deirdre Imus in just a moment. We'll also hear his thoughts on the controversial comments that got him fired, and also his thoughts on President Obama. Straight ahead. Continue now with more with Don and Deirdre Imus, who have been providing a sanctuary for kids with cancer and their siblings for 10 years at the Imus Ranch.
This year is a little bit different because this is the first year. You were diagnosed this year. You have cancer.
Prostate cancer.
But you have prostate cancer, and you've been very public about it. But the first thing you did was go on the air, and almost from day one, you were making jokes about it. And do you have a different perspective based on the fact that you're now battling this yourself?
Completely different because, well, I don't know, completely different. I just, but I knew what these kids thought that they were being defined by their disease. Mm-hmm. Because, as I explained to them, bad stuff happens to everybody. Mm-hmm. Nobody goes through life undefeated. Nobody. I agree. But cancer has a certain stigma to it. And so if you allow people, which I refuse to do, I mean, you can't change the way people think, but you don't have to allow it to change the way you think.
Let me ask you a question, because you know, we discussed, and the whole country discussed your firing way back when, and we covered it a lot on our show. As a matter of fact, I debated Al Sharpton at the time, and we had a knockdown battle over, you know, the issue of things that he'd said in the past. Here you have this ranch that you personally have put in a considerable amount. I don't know what the finances are. And the kids that you invite here, you've had over 1,000 kids at this ranch, many of them minority kids. This issue with Rutgers comes down at 6:15 in the morning. You make these comments, and all the things that you have done for all these kids of all backgrounds and all races, etc., was there no context or no texture given to your life? Is that fair?
No, I think it is.
You think it is fair?
Yeah.
That there shouldn't be any context, the fact that you...
Not in this case. I mean, I went and talked to those kids. My wife and I did, the Rutgers kids.
Yeah.
And I talked to their parents, and I talked to their grandparents. And they're playing basketball. They're playing for the national championship. They had no idea. They didn't know who I was and didn't care and shouldn't. They weren't listening to me. And suddenly, out of the blue, somebody makes a comment about their appearance, but something that speaks so basically to the African American community that African Americans among themselves signify on one another, and it's a defining description of an African American woman's hair. And so when they told me, I never thought, and I never offered the excuse that anything I had done in my life entitled me to say that about those.
No. Nothing entitled you to say it. You were genuinely sorry. You were already fired, and you still went to meet with them, which I thought all those things were the right thing to do. Apologize. But I'm just wondering if we're living in a political world now where there's zero context, zero texture to who you really are. Now, I talked to you about...
Well, yeah, but I see, I would argue, but I just don't think that entitles me to say what I want to say about people.
I'm not saying
that
you
has
have
such
a past.
dramatic impact on their life. I mean,
and life isn't fair. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Why didn't anyone cover that, or why wasn't that the context of all that because of, all the good work? But I mean, frankly, that's not why he's doing, and that's not why I'm doing.
You're not doing it to get brownie points.
Why are you arguing with us?
I mean,
there are no two people who are bigger fans of yours than us.
Yeah.
And now you're badgering and beating. I mean, it's ridiculous. And by the way,
yeah,
that was my beef with President Obama, who I think is a hypocritical phony about this, because as soon as Reverend Wright jumped up, and the first thing the president wants to do is he wants us to put all of Reverend Wright's good works into context, and to
what good works?
Well, whatever he thought, and to put his life into context. Well, Obama wasn't willing to do that with me, and talk about, I wouldn't have it. Well, I mean, shut up. And then he couldn't throw Reverend Wright on the bus quick enough, and thank God there was enough room for when his grandmother made some comment, he had her onto the bus. I mean, so I don't think Reverend Wright should have ran his mouth like he did, and we're not going to put into context his life, and I don't think anybody should have done mine. And what I told those girls at Rutgers is I said, I will never, in your lifetime, you won't be sorry that you forgave me, because I will never embarrass you, and I will never say something like that again about anybody, about you or anybody else. Plus, what I've done in the past year and a half is I'll make an effort to have a discussion about, a legitimate, not a phony, a legitimate discussion about race relations, and make it amusing if we can, and so on, which I've done. So, I love you and other folks for defending me the way you did, but I just don't think anything I've done in my life entitles me to say whatever I feel like saying.
Also, but it is amazing that the president hung out with this guy. You had a funny line.
Well, you scared us to death, because we're thinking, I'm thinking when the president gets elected, he's going to name to his cabinet people like Angela Davis and Reverend Wright and all these, and Bill Ayers, and all these nuts. And then I come to find out he just got everybody in the Clinton administration. So,
but he's got a few extremists in there too.
Well, and all these Wall Street crooks, all your buddies and mine.
I think I would argue that I turned out to be pretty accurate about how radical he'd be. But you disagree with me on that? You don't think he's pretty radical on the economy, on health care, on his reckless spending, his weakening of our defenses? You talk about these things every day.
Well, not like you do, though, because you actually know what you're talking about. And my job is just to...
He's looking for the yucks.
My job is to be the commentator on the freak parade.
It is a freak parade. All right, let me ask you this, because one of the things that you're committed to this whole thing, and this is a big part of your life. Politics is a big part of your life. When you look at your entire life story, Don Imus, one of the biggest radio hosts in the world, and one of the most successful, are you most proud of this? Is this what gives you the most joy?
Yeah, and on a serious note, my relationship with Deirdre and what we've been able to, because I wouldn't.
You're ruining the interview now, because it was up to this point the fighting was really great for ratings.
I wasn't riding around in a limo looking for somebody to help. I really wasn't.
Right.
And this really was an accident. The idea was an accident. The fact that we were able to raise $40–50 million, that she and I worked together as well as we do, and were able to.
I know he looks puzzled now. I mean, with all the fighting, that's kind of like our relationship too.
Well, look, guys, I know I've taken a lot of your time. The ranch is beautiful, and what you're doing for these kids are phenomenal. And I won't ask. The worst thing you could ever do to Don is ask him, "How are you feeling? How's the treatment going?" Did you ever get a response on that?
Well, it's fine. But we raise money for the Imus Ranch. We encourage people to come out here. We operate entirely on donations. We contribute our own money. It's one of the best-run public charities on the planet, the Imus Ranch. And people can feel comfortable contributing to it, and we want them to.
I got to tell you, folks, haven't been out there. It's amazing stuff they're doing out there, and these kids are having a wonderful time. And I enjoyed my time out there. Many thanks to Don and Deirdre. That is all the time we have left this